Somewhere in America right now, a row of washing machines is quietly taking in quarters while its owner is asleep. That's the dream they sell you. Buy the machines, plug them in, collect the coins, retire early. A business that runs itself. Here's what they don't tell you. A man who's owned one for 13 years will tell you the busiest-looking laundromat on the street is often the one quietly losing money, and that plenty of owners earn less per hour than the cashier at the shop next door. So is a laundromat actually worth it? Today we take the whole business apart, how it really makes money, what it costs to start, what it's like to run at 11 on a Sunday when a machine floods the floor, how crowded the lane is, the legal traps, and the handful of moves that separate the owners who print from the owners who drown. This is the Laundromat explained. Quick promise before we start. No hype, no get rich quick, no DM me to buy a course. Just the real numbers, cited on screen, and the honest version a smart person would want before risking their savings. We're going to walk through it in order: what a laundromat really is, how the money actually moves, where the profit is hiding, what it's like to run one day to day, how saturated the market is, the legal side, what it truly costs to get in, and then, at the end, the specific things the winners do differently. Stick around for that last part. It's where the money is actually made. From the street, a laundromat looks like a soap business. Walk inside and it's something else entirely. It's real estate that sells hot water. Think about who actually walks in. It isn't only people without a machine at home, it's the family who can wash a whole week's laundry in 1 hour instead of 5 loads at the house. It's the traveler passing through. It's the person whose dryer died on a Tuesday. It's anyone with a king-size comforter that will never fit in a home machine. A laundromat quietly monetizes a gap that landlords created. Every apartment built without a washer, hookup sends someone, eventually, through your door. And that's the first reframe that changes everything. The washers and dryers are not the asset. They're depreciating boxes of metal that wear out in 10 to 15 years. The real asset is the location and the lease, the right corner, in the right neighborhood, on a long enough lease. Get that wrong, and the best machines in the world won't save you. Get it right, and old machines will still print. Hold that thought. It comes back in a big way later. Let's follow the money, because the model is beautifully simple and brutally unforgiving. Revenue is 3 numbers multiplied together. The vend price times the number of machines times how many times each machine runs per day. That last number has a name in the industry: a turn. 1 wash cycle is 1 turn. 1 dry cycle is 1 turn. Vend price first. A wash runs roughly $3 to $6, depending on the city and the machine size. The average load lands around 5.25 in 2026. Dryers are usually sold by the minute. Fine. Now the number that actually rules the whole business: turns per day. The industry average is about 3.5 turns per machine per day. A healthy store does 4 to 6. A dying one does 1 or 2. And here's the thing: that single number isn't really measuring your store, it's measuring your neighborhood. Turns per day is how many people within walking distance need to wash clothes they can't wash at home. You don't set it. The location sets it. Now the costs. And this is where the dream goes to die. Run the waterfall. Start with revenue at 100%. The single biggest cost isn't rent and it isn't labor. It's utilities. Water, sewer, and the natural gas that heats all that water, typically 20 to 30% of revenue, and worse if your equipment is old and thirsty. A real owner put it bluntly: in some months, the utility bill is bigger than the mortgage. There's a pump heating and recirculating hot water that essentially never switches off. Every turn burns water and gas, whether you're there or not. Then rent, call it around 9% of revenue if you lease. Maintenance and the slow march toward re-equipping, another 15 to 20% of operating cost. And labor, if you attend the store, 25 to 35% of operating expenses, which is exactly why so many laundromats are unattended. What's left at the bottom? For a well-run store, a net margin of roughly 20 to 35%. In real dollars, owner cash flow runs anywhere from about $15,000 a year for a small unattended store to $350,000 for a large busy one. Same business, 20-fold difference, and almost all of that gap is decided by the location and how well you bought. Here's the part most people miss. If your whole plan is quarters from self-service washing, you've signed up for the thinnest, most utility-exposed version of this business. The quarters are the floor. The profit is in what you add on top. Lever 1. Wash and fold. The customer drops off a bag. You wash, dry and fold it. They pick it up. Self-service might earn you 25 cents a pound. Full-service wash and fold earns around $2 a pound, 8 times the price for the same machines. And here's the kicker. A customer you convert to wash and fold is worth roughly 8 times the lifetime revenue of a coin-only customer. Add pickup and delivery, and the average order jumps from about $44 to nearly $80. Lever 2, the boring little machines around the edges, soap and detergent vending right next to the coin changer. A drinks machine because people are stuck in your store for an hour with cash in their pocket. Snacks. Maybe an arcade game. None of it is glamorous. All of it is high margin and it costs you almost nothing to run. Lever 3, go cashless. Adding card and app payment lifts revenue by roughly 17 to 22%. Partly because people spend more when they're not limited to the quarters in their pocket. Partly because you can raise prices without a coin slot fight. Most of the country is still on coins, which means this is still an edge, not table stakes. Put it together and the picture flips. The self-service quarters keep the lights on, about 65 to 75% of revenue. The real upside, the part that turns a tired coin shop into a genuine business, is the 25 to 35% that comes from the services you bolt on. The owners who only collect quarters wonder why it's so hard. The owners who add the layers wonder why everyone else doesn't. So does it run itself? Ask the man who's done it for 13 years, and the answer is a flat no, with a laugh. Machines break, that's not a risk, it's a certainty. And they never break on a Tuesday afternoon when you're standing there. They break at 11 on a Sunday morning, water running across the floor while you're trying to get to church. They break on the holiday weekend. And when they break, you have 2 options. Learn to fix them yourself or pay. In a small town, the repair tech might be 40 to 60 miles away and charge a $200 trip fee just to look at it, whether it's 1 machine or 5. The owners who survive learn that the same few things fail over and over. A water valve, a door switch, a button on a dryer. They keep the parts in a back room and they watch the repair videos. Then there's the customer side. A huge share of your "it broke and stole my money" calls aren't broken machines at all. It's a door that wasn't latched. The owner drives 15 minutes into town, presses the door, and it starts right up. Multiply that by a few hundred customers who've never used a commercial machine, and people will treat your equipment in ways they'd never treat their own. Pins, coins, pocket knives, screws, the occasional firecracker, straight into the drum. Food left on the folding tables. The single hardest ongoing job isn't even the machines. It's keeping the place clean and safe enough that decent customers want to come back. There's a coin machine that has to stay full and unjammed. And in some towns, people wander in just to raid your change machine for quarters they'll spend somewhere else. None of this means it's a bad business. It means it's a real one. It is semi-passive. You genuinely don't have to be there all day, but semi is doing a lot of work in that sentence. You're on call, budget for that, and the rest of the numbers actually hold up. Let's talk competition, because this is where good numbers get wrecked. Nationally, laundromats are a roughly $7 billion industry. The data ranges from about 6.8 billion up, depending on who's counting. There are somewhere around 35,000 of them. Though the official business count is lower, closer to 18,000. The gap is real, and we're showing you both, rather than picking the flattering one. Around 80% are still single-location mom-and-pops, and the 5-year survival rate is unusually high, about 95%. That's the recession-resistant reputation, and it's largely earned. But survival is a national average, and you don't operate nationally. You operate on one corner, and on one corner, this business can turn on a dime. The 13-year owner watched it happen twice. When the other laundromat in his town closed, he was the only game in town and ran 10 to 12 turns a day. Phenomenal. Then an outsider gutted and reopened the old one, and his turns fell to 7, then 5. Then someone built a brand new laundromat 50 yards away, the next parking lot over. That's the whole game in one story. Saturation isn't a number in a report, it's whether the next entrant can plant a flag within walking distance of yours. Which is exactly why you never open a laundromat in a town of 500 people, and you never open one where 6 others already crowd a half mile. You hunt for the underserved pocket, dense renters, not enough clean machines, the existing store half broken with empty soap dispensers. That gap is the opportunity. We'll come back to exactly how to find it. Now the part the feel-good videos skip entirely, and the part that quietly sinks beginners. The legal and regulatory layer. Start with the lease, because for most owners it's the single most important legal document they'll ever sign. Institutional-grade laundromats run on 10 to 15-year leases with renewal options. A short lease, 3 years or less, is a countdown timer on your whole investment, because when it ends, the landlord holds every card. We'll see in a minute that a store with a short lease is worth almost nothing when you go to sell it. Then the permits, which vary by city but rhyme everywhere. A business license, water and sewer approvals, gas and electrical sign-off for all that heating equipment, and accessibility requirements. None of it is exotic, all of it is mandatory. Skipping it is how you get shut down after you've spent the money. And the big one, the myth that does real damage. Because it's a coin business, people whisper that it's all cash, that you don't really have to report it, that the taxman can't track quarters. Do not believe it. The honest owners report every dollar, and not only because it's right. If you underreport and you're audited, the authorities can simply estimate what they think you should have made and tax you on that. And you can lose the business defending it. It's all cash. Skip the IRS isn't a loophole. It's how laundromat owners lose laundromats. One resource worth knowing before you do anything: the Coin Laundry Association. They run industry conferences and equipment shows, and, crucially, they can point you to an appraiser. That matters more than it sounds, and it's the bridge to the next section: what this actually costs. So what does it cost to get in? There are 3 doors, and they're wildly different. Door 1, buy a small, existing, unattended store. Roughly $50,000 to $200,000, sometimes less for a tired one with old machines. Door 2, a larger attended store, $200,000 to $500,000. Door 3, build from the ground up, a 3,000 to 4,000 square foot store, fully fitted with new machines, will run you $850,000 to over $1 million. And the machines themselves are not cheap. A 40-pound washer is around $12,000. A 50-pounder closer to 15, and a wall of them adds up fast. Now the question that actually matters: what do you get back? A well-bought store pays itself back in roughly 4 to 5 years and throws off a yield in the meantime, not a salary, a yield. And when you sell, laundromats trade at about 3.5 to 5 times their net income, what the industry calls sellers' discretionary earnings, which means every dollar you add to annual profit adds $3.5 to $5 to the sale price. That's the real prize, and it's why how you run it matters as much as what you paid. Build versus buy. For almost everyone, buy. Building is $1 million bet on an unproven corner. Buying an existing store lets you see the actual turns before you commit, if you know how to look. And before you sign anything, get that Coin Laundry Association appraiser to value the equipment, because the owner who paid $1,100 for a washer 6 years ago is selling you a machine that's now worth maybe $300. Buy the cash flow, not the metal. All right, the part you stuck around for. If you are actually going to do this, here is how the owners who print money are different from the owners who drown. 6 moves. 1. Verify the turns before you buy. Don't trust the seller's spreadsheet. Offer to come in and empty the machines yourself for a week. The coins don't lie. If the turns aren't there, no price is low enough. 2. Treat location like it's the entire decision, because it nearly is. Dense renters, weak or broken incumbents, real foot traffic within a mile. You are not buying machines, you are buying a catchment. 3. Own the building if you possibly can, and if you can't, lock the longest lease you can get. The owner who controls the real estate controls the business and protects the resale value. 4. Raise your prices and don't flinch. It feels backwards, but higher prices attract better customers, people who care more about a clean, working store than about saving a quarter. The cheapest customers complain the most. abuse the machines the most, and pay you the least. Pricing up isn't greed, it's filtering. 5. Stack the revenue layers we talked about: wash and fold, pickup and delivery, vending, and cashless. That's how you take a 20% margin coin shop and turn it into a real business with a moat. 6. Do your own maintenance, at least the basics. Every repair you can do yourself is pure margin, and a Sunday you didn't lose to a $200 trip charge. So, is a laundromat actually worth it? Here's the honest verdict. It is not a machine that prints money while you sleep. It's a semi-passive, real estate-backed yield that rewards the patient, hands-on owner who buys right and runs it well, and punishes the person who wanted hands-off riches and bought the first store they saw. And there's one more thing happening that tells you the model is sound. The smart money has noticed. Inquiries from private equity and family offices into laundromats are up roughly 5-fold in 18 months. Laundry is one of the last big, fragmented mom-and-pop corners of the economy that institutional capital hasn't rolled up yet, the way it already did with self-storage, car washes, and gas stations. That's the bull case. You're early to something real, and it's the warning. The easy, independent stores are exactly what the big buyers are coming for. If you're going to plant your flag, plant it well and plant it soon. Worth it? If you go in with your eyes open, buy the cash flow, win the location, and run it like the real business it is, yes. If you wanted to get rich doing nothing, this was never that, and now you know before it cost you a cent. If this is the kind of breakdown you wanted, the real numbers, not the hype, then welcome. That's the whole point of this channel. We take one business apart every week, honestly, so you can find the one that actually fits you before you bet your savings on it. Subscribe and you won't miss the next one. And the next one's a good one, the car wash. Same boring business DNA as the laundromat, but it makes its money in a sneakier way that catches almost everyone out. It's on screen now. One question before you go. Which business do you want us to tear apart next? Drop it in the comments. If enough of you ask for the same one, it jumps the queue. See you in the next breakdown.